A warm welcome to all. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Pratik Kelkar and I am part of Nasscom Membership Outreach Western Region. Before we get started with the webinar, I would like to go over a few important points that may help to know how to participate in today's event. As an attendee, you will be on mute throughout the course of the event. At any time during the webinar, you will have the opportunity to submit your question to today's presenters. To do so, just type your question into Q&A at the bottom of the control panel. The presenter will address as many questions as they can during the Q&A session. Request you to be as descriptive as possible while you list your queries. Our today's session is Understanding the Nuances of Apprenticeship. The Apprenticeship Act of 1961 mandates that every organization employing 30+ individuals must engage apprentices, constituting a minimum of 2.5% of their total workforce. To navigate the intricacies and nuances of apprenticeship programs, Nasscom is excited to announce an enlightening webinar. Now, please join me in welcoming our eminent speakers for today. Girish Kulkarni, Head Apprenticeship, IT/ITES Sector Skills Council, Nasscom. Girish is a passionate and seasoned professional with 38+ years of varied global industry experience. Girish has worked various senior CXO roles apart from handling corporate functions like quality, PMO, etc. He has managed large accounts in aerospace and rail transportation sectors. Working with Nasscom, SSC since last 5 years, Girish is leading the implementation of apprenticeship, RPL, and other NSDC, MSDE, MHRD-driven skilling initiatives across IT/ITES sector in India. He has helped more than 4,000 organizations in fulfilling their entry-level skilling requirements aligned with business imperatives while complying with the law of the land. We welcome you, Mr. Girish.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Hi, everybody.
And our next speaker for today is Ms. Divyata Goel, Apprenticeship Lead, NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. Divyata is the head of apprenticeship team at NSDC. NSDC is the principal architect of the skill ecosystem in India. She has over 13 years of work experience across the corporate and development sectors. We welcome you, Divyata.
Thank you and good afternoon, everybody.
Hi. Now, without a further ado, I would like to hand over the dais to Mr. Girish. Over to you, Mr. Girish.
Thank you very much. Hope I'm audible there. I'm just about to share my screen and let's get started right away. Hope I'm audible there. Just a confirmation request, please.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
And my screen is also visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
The presentation.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So thanks, Pratik, and thanks, Divyata joining from NSDC as well. Good afternoon to everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Apprenticeship, as you know, has gotten momentum since last 5-6 years, quite a bit in the industry scenario. And quite rightly so, because, that is the most optimal way of employing fresh employees, induct fresh employees into the organizations. But a little bit of history there, how we are structuring it here is that we, on the awareness part of it, we are going very fast. And there are a host of FAQs. In fact, we have, based on our experience, we have listed out quite a few questions, which generally people ask us while implementing it. And we are going through each one of them, almost 25, 26 of them, which are more business pertinent, business oriented, and so on and so forth. So excuse me if I'm going a little bit fast on the awareness piece of this, but nevertheless, nothing is lost. There is my colleague Celestine G side by side, who is on the chat box. Any questions, if you have, you can register your questions in the chat box. She is going to answer you that. So apprenticeship is there since 1961, and today in our country, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship and Ministry of Education are implementing apprenticeship. Just a brief snippet of legalities. Any organization which is having more than 30 or more than 30 people as their headcount, both the direct and indirect put together, are needed to comply with this law of the land by engaging minimum 2.5% of their total headcount as apprentices. And you can go up to a maximum of 15%, and there are some CSR benefits also. Of course, we'll dwell on that a little bit more later, what benefits they are. And you can go up to 15%, and also as per the legal aspects, an apprentice is not an employee of the organization. That has to be noted very, very clearly. And he or she is not an employee of the organization, but he or she is the trainee who's being trained voluntarily by the organization to fulfill their legal obligation. So that is what is in the definition of apprentice as such. Moving on, of late, there have been, since 2014 onwards, there have been a lot of improvements that, apprenticeship ecosystem has seen, and it has become more industry friendly and, very easy to implement. A lot of improvements that have happened, flexibility that's been given, and so on and so forth. So as we said, there is this range, which earlier used to be a quota. Now this is 2.5 to 15% that you can engage depending on your business alignment. Minimum, if you fulfill, you are compliant, but maximum can go up to 15%. And particularly for the IT/ITES sector, we got about already 14, kind of tailor-made curricula or training program material that is already available there, which you can use if you want to. We will get a list of that also later. And who all are eligible here? These are all degree holders, diploma holders, short-term training courses, people who have done that, and all these people would be included. They could be engaged as apprentices. But typically in our IT/ITES sector, what happens is it is the graduates and the diploma holders, 10th pass and 12th pass people are the ones who are being engaged as apprentices. Of course, they all can be engaged as apprentices under NAPS. One thing I wanted to mention is that, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship is, running a scheme called NAPS, National Apprenticeship Promotional Scheme. And there is another scheme called NATS, which is being run by Ministry of Education. And, how both can be used and so on and so forth. We'll discuss that a little bit later. Coming back to the improvements per se, what has happened is that because the government has trusted the industry so much so that even the governance is now entrusted with the sector skill councils. Like, the CEO of IT/ITES Sector Skill Council is the joint apprenticeship advisor, and for any kind of arbitration approvals, intermediate activities and so on and so forth, the joint apprenticeship advisor, who is the CEO of IT/ITES Sector Skill Council, is responsible, and he or she would be able to delegate these authorities. Good news is that, earlier there used to be a penalty for defaulters, but now that penalty, earlier there used to be imprisonment. Sorry about that. Used to be imprisonment. Now it has just boiled down to a penalty. But nevertheless, we don't want to, dwell into that. We, being good corporate citizen, we don't want to get into the penalty area. But nevertheless, just for your information, for every missed apprenticeship month, a penalty of 500 rupees would be levied. And even after 3 months, if that position is not filled, then it moves up to 1,000 rupees per month per vacant apprenticeship spot. So, there are a host of companies who have already signed up for this. As my colleague Pratik was saying, more than 4,000 companies we have already onboarded. But in the nutshell, to say apprenticeship implementation in your organization has been made very, very simple, easy, and user-friendly and industry-friendly. And it is very well aligned with your business imperatives and processes. So typically, now dwelling a little bit on the models that you want to adopt. There could be typically, for an industry, I'm, talking about the IT/ITES companies, and even in general, other companies also, organizations who have set up their business. Typically, this bucket 2, 3, 4 would be more relevant. There are 3 scenarios here. Coming to bucket 2, the scenario is that, as I said earlier, there are about 14 curricula particularly for IT/ITES sector, and there are, if those are already approved by NSDC and NCVET, and which can be used readily to run apprenticeship in your organization. If you do so, it is a plug and play kind of situation. And then in that case, you would be eligible to avail the government's financial assistance also. All the rest of the details like who's eligible, what is the duration, you have this flexibility of duration of 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. Depending on that, you can use the curricula, the eligibility of education, minimum educational qualifications, like graduates, diplomas, and 10th and 12th pass people. So those where whomever you want, you can engage apprentices in your organization. That is one set. That is bucket 2, wherein you are using an approved curricula, which is already up there in the system, and you are right from the day one, you are eligible to use the government's financial assistance of 1,500 rupees per candidate per month, which is the stipend that assistance that the government offers. Bucket number 3 is a situation wherein you want to have your own customized curricula approved and then use it. So then in that case, there is a process for that as well. There is a standard template in which you would be requested to upload your training curricula, and it may take somewhere in the range of 3 to 4 months to get it approved by NSDC and NCVET. And once it gets approved, you would be able to run with the apprenticeship program. And also at the same time, once it is approved, you would be able to avail the government's financial assistance also of 1,500 rupees per candidate per month. This I'm talking about the scheme of NAPS. However, until the curricula gets approved, once you upload the curricula into NSDC system, you would be definitely allowed to run the apprenticeship program, but until it is approved, you would not be eligible to avail the government's financial assistance. And now the 4th bucket, which is, in most of the cases, many of our ITS companies are opting for, is the one wherein they say that we want to have our own fully customized curricula. We don't want government's financial assistance. And, let other, companies who would want to avail the financial assistance, they may take it, but we don't want it. But we want the flexibility to run our own customized apprenticeship training curricula. Then in that case, bucket 4 is the best option for you. So these are the 3 different buckets or options of models of apprenticeship that an organization can implement in an organization. Of course, the last bucket, which is bucket 5, it is under Ministry of Education. Erstwhile, it used to be called as HRD, Ministry of HRD. And here, it is a fixed 1-year term for apprenticeship, and of course, graduates and diplomas can be engaged here as well. But it is a choice that you need to make. But what happens with the NAPS is that by our mandate and our structure of governance, ITS Sector Skill Council always works with NSDC, and we work in implementing NAPS across the industry in ITS sector. So that is where these are the 3-4 models what we have for implementing apprenticeship in your organization. And now moving on, this is a business case. Why apprenticeship? At a high level, if you consider the major costs of engaging a fresher, I'm considering here a graduate engineer or a graduate, basically a graduate, not essentially an engineer. A graduate apprentice, if he or she need to be engaged against a graduate per FTE, full-time employee, need to be engaged, then straightway, considering all the high-level cost heads, there is going to be almost 30% cost saving during the period of apprenticeship that you are engaging. There are quite a few benefits by engaging apprentices. And since, I'm not, as I said in the beginning, I'm not really dwelling on the benefits of apprenticeship and so on and so forth, because I was told before setting up the webinar that people are aware of the benefits. They need to know how to implement it, the nuances of it. And that's the reason I'm not really dwelling on the benefits of it. But nevertheless, to touch it briefly, that, the cost benefit, how it works out is that for apprentices, since they're not employees, there is no ESI, there is no EPF, there is no incentive, there is no bonus, no increment. It is a fixed stipend of for graduates is 9,000 rupees. And out of that, you get 1,500 rupees back from the government. So that works out to be about 30%, right? So it is a clear case there. And also other benefit, big benefit is that during the entire period of apprenticeship, you get to assess the candidates with their performance. And the legally, at the end of apprenticeship, it is no compulsion for any organization to engage even one apprentice on their permanent job role after successful completion of apprenticeship. So that means, guess what? It is giving you an opportunity to assess and evaluate the candidates before you take them on your permanent job roles. So a big benefit, I would say, rather than carrying the liabilities, it is always better to carry the assets, right? So moving on, as I said, these are the 14 curricula that we already have, for ITS sector, which you can use whichever is suitable. Of course, there is this duration that is mentioned and also the NSQF level, depending on the level of content and expertise that one would gain out of this. So any one of this, of course, once you log on to apprenticeshipindia.gov.in, you can, on the homepage itself, you can download the PDF files of all this. You could get the details also. Of course, my team also would be able to send you, if you need some PDF files of this, we can help you with that. So any of these 14 curricula, if that suits your business, say, for example, web developer, junior software developer, or senior associate, transactional F&A, if these suit your business, of course, there has to be a good alignment with your training training program and content as well. And that is where, our ITS apprenticeship team comes in very handy. We will help you out at every stage in selection of the curricula, in registration of the organization, while registering the candidate, exchange of contracts, and through the entire process of apprenticeship implementation. We are there to support you at every step. And thankfully, the portal of NAPS is so robust and so good, so easy to operate. Even, it's very, very intuitive and very easy to operate as well. And one more good thing is that there is absolutely no paperwork. Don't have to run to any government offices to file any returns and proofs and so on and so forth. Everything is online, except for in the beginning, while you're registering the organization and exchanging the contracts, there could be little bit of couple of documents which need to be uploaded in terms of your company, registration documents and Aadhaar number and so on and so forth, Aadhaar documents and things like that. Otherwise, rest everything is online. Even the attendance monitoring and certification assessment, everything is online. So that is where I would take a little bit of pause, and now we are going to start with FAQs. I think the flow is okay. If somebody can confirm if it is okay, or if you have any questions, I would pause here. Otherwise, I would like to go ahead with FAQs. I have started this with the thing at the back of my mind that awareness about apprenticeship and its benefits is already there. We are going to dwell more on FAQs and nuances of apprenticeship as to how to implement, how to tackle, and so on and so forth. If it is okay, please give me a confirmation. I'll proceed. Should I? Good. I think I got a confirmation, so let's move on. So here, there's plethora of questions, FAQs that generally people ask. Let's go one by one. I got about 25 questions and we'll go one by one. Typical questions. Does ITS sector fall under the ambit of Apprenticeship Act? Answer is a emphatic yes. Every sector, including domestic servants, construction workers, every sector has been brought under the ambit of Apprenticeship Act. And hence ITS sector, ER&D, services sector, everybody, every organization which is having a headcount of 30 or more falls under the ambit of apprenticeship. And guess what? Even Nasscom is falling under the ambit of apprenticeship, and we are engaging apprentices. Next question. Can a company be compliant by adopting either of the scheme, NAPS or NATS? Answer is yes. It should be suitable to your business. You can use either one or both, or there is no choice that you cannot use any. But You can use both also, you can use any one also. Question number 3, does company need to file returns in government offices? Is there a lot of paperwork? As I said earlier itself, there is very less paperwork as far as NAPS is concerned. But, as I said, in NATS, we don't much get involved with that, but I'm not fully aware how much paperwork is required there. Can interns be apprentices? This is very, very, very important. Many people ask this. Yes, interns can be apprentices provided their internship duration is minimum of 6 months. And also the company pays them a minimum stipend of 900 rupees as per the apprenticeship law. And also interns should be registered as apprentices in the portal, and the next contract has to be exchanged between the company and the interns. And there has to be a curricula which need to be opted out for training the interns during internship. So I think that makes it clear. Can MSc, MTech, PhDs be engaged as apprentices? This is very interesting question. As far as the apprenticeship is concerned, any fresher who does not have any past work experience can be engaged as apprentices. So going by that legal clause, yes, MSc, MTech, PhDs can be engaged as apprentices. Just now today, I finished a call in the morning with one of the companies wherein their, chartered accountants who are just undergoing training are being engaged as apprentices. So that is also possible. That is it. So these could be like, these are kind of out of the box things, but definitely these are possible. Does company need to select candidates from apprenticeship portal only? Answer is absolute no. Actually, while selecting apprentices, nothing of your candidate selection process which is aligned with your business changes. Like, you may be having your written test, your group discussions, your minimum qualification criteria, and all that stays. Only thing what you are going to do, the freshers whom you are going to hire either through boot camp or through campus interviews, or whatever that process what you're following in your organization, the same thing holds good. It is accepted, and only when it comes to engaging them as apprentices, you need to register them on the portal and exchange the apprenticeship contract, and also abide by the apprenticeship legal requirements of paying stipend and exchanging contract and so on and so forth. And so mean to say that you need not, there is no compulsion that you need to select apprentices only from the NAPS portal. What are the eligibility criteria for selecting apprentices? Minimum age is 14 years. Of course, in IT/ITES sector, we don't engage 14 years people, but nevertheless, other criteria would be, we engage generally 18 years and above all majors, but other criteria would be that any candidate who has passed his last highest education level within last 3 years can be engaged as apprentice, provided he or she does not have any past working experience. That is very, very critical, because see, the apprenticeship whole principle or the premise is that we as a country, we are trying to train the fresh workforce that is coming into the job market to make them job ready. So past experience, work experience, if somebody has, he or she has already learned the tricks of the trade. So hence that opportunity, who the other novice who's not having that skill should not be robbed from them. That is the whole premise. So hence past experienced people cannot be engaged as apprentices. Can a company co-opt for a customized curricula for apprenticeship training? Yes. Until, as I said earlier also, until the curricula is approved by NCVT, the company cannot avail the government's financial assistance. But until it is approved, they still can run the apprenticeship and be compliant. Is assessment compulsory? Yes, as per the official memo, office memo dated 3rd January, apprenticeship assessment is compulsory in all the cases. And hence, even if there are some cases of pre-closure and, say for example, what happens is in some cases, the learning of candidates is faster and the organization thinks that yeah, these people are up to the mark now, so we need to move them to the permanent jobs in our organization. So even in that condition also, it is compulsory on the organization to conduct the assessment and then they move them on to the permanent jobs in their organization. What is the minimum and maximum stipend limit? Typically talking about graduates, of course, there is a table there, but since ITS industry generally deals with graduates and diplomas, these are the minimum stipend which is to be paid per month per candidate, 9,000 rupees and 7,000 rupees respectively. And the good news is that there is no upper limit to it. That is the question which most of the companies ask. Can we pay more? Yes, of course you can. But ensure that that is whatever you are paying as stipend is, registered in the contract which you are exchanging with the apprentice. How does CSR benefit play out? CSR is, corporate social responsibility, wherein every organization contributes depending on their revenue and all, they contribute to the CSR kitty of the country. And related to apprenticeship, how it works is that, as you all know, to be compliant, minimum of 2.5% of your total headcount need to be engaged as apprentices. And also there is this maximum of 15%. Anything additional above 2.5% up to 15%, if you are engaging apprentices, which happens in some of the companies, typically like BPO, BPM companies and all, there, this additional 12.5%, the stipend cost and other related costs can be expensed out of your CSR kitty. And with the caveat that only to the extent of minimum stipend that is stipulated to these candidates. Say, for example, 9,000 is the minimum stipend. Only that 12.5% and the number of candidates whom you are engaging multiplied by 9,000 can be expensed out of this CSR funds. Hope that is clear. So what is the difference between NAPS and non-NAPS? Yeah, this is actually a NSDC vocabulary. NAPS means where the company is availing the government's financial assistance, and non-NAPS means where the company is not availing the government's financial assistance incentive. Okay, next question. What rules apply to apprentices at workplace? Typically, the workplace rules, whatever the organization is following in their organization would apply to. And since, as we said, these are not employees, some of the labor laws like ESI, EPF and all would not apply to them. And but typical work timings and shifts and all, they apply, and lunch timings and all that, leaves and everything. Whatever the organization is applying to their regular employees would apply to them also. But one caveat here is that if you want to have a separate leave structure or policies for apprentices only, an organization's prerogative would be to get that policy made, gotten it approved, and then implement. Change of policy of rules, benefits and all, it cannot be done in between while the apprenticeship program is on. It has to be communicated, established well in advance before the apprenticeship program starts. How to ensure cover for safety of apprentices at workplace? As we said, since apprentices are not employees, these are not covered under laws and typical company laws and all, we advise them to take the group insurance for them so that at the workplace, their work safety is ensured. And that way, most of the companies are managing the safety of apprentices at their workplace. I would, what is DBT? Why DBT KYC compulsion? I know I would not really dwell much on this, but nevertheless, DBT is nothing but direct beneficiary transfer, wherein this incentive is going to be, government's incentive is being paid directly into the candidate's bank account, just to avoid pilferage and things like that. So that is what is happening. There is a process already there. And when the companies start registering their candidates, they would know. Nowadays, it has become compulsory. Also, eKYC, it has become compulsory for registration of the candidates as well. But we will discuss it more with the companies individually as and when it comes to that, right? Can the apprenticeship duration be extended? Yes, this is very, very important one. Yes, it can be extended. There could be a couple of reasons. There could be a performance reason. There could be a medical reason, right? And also another question that is asked is, if the extension is done, whether the stipend can be paid and whether the company can avail the government's financial assistance also. These are some kind of related questions which I'm going to develop on. If it is performance-related delay or any other delay because of which apprenticeship training gets delayed and the training gets extended, then of course, the extension is possible to the maximum of something like 15 to 20% of the total duration, but not beyond that. But if it is related to performance delay and learning delay and things like that, for the extended period, there is no government's financial assistance. However, if the extension is due to some medical reason, say, for example, accidents, long duration of hospitalization for any reason, and so on and so forth, then in that case, of course, there would be on a humanitarian ground, the extension would be approved, and also the incentive also would be paid. Next, does a company need to engage apprentices in its core business area only? Very important and pertinent question most of the companies ask. A vehement answer is no, not at all. What government is needed to know or wants to ensure is that as long as you are maintaining or complying with that 2.5% of your total headcount in your organization being engaged as apprentices, they're okay. It could be in any function. It could be in any support functions like finance, like HR, like admin, like security, canteen. It's okay. As long as you're making up that number, it's fine. Because we do understand that, because of our IT customer export-oriented customer centricity, we may not want to be able to deploy apprentices in some customer front-ending activities and so on and so forth. So hence, this question is very, very pertinent. Hope that clears that out. Next, if a company operating in multiple locations, should apprentices be engaged in all locations? Here, there are two things here. If a company is operating in multiple locations as different business entities, I mean to say, with different registrations and separate balance sheets, as a separate business entities, then each entity would be considered as a separate standalone unit. Then, of course, you may have to, for being compliant, an organization may have to, though it is all one parent company, multinational company, but it has to engage apprentices in all locations. However, in India alone, if in 3 or more than 3 states, if a company is operating under one as one entity, business entity with only one balance sheet, then there is no need to engage apprentices in all the 4 locations. It can be in any one location of your choice, 2, 3, or all of them. Choice is yours. Okay. So the whole differentiation is that how you're operating in India is very important. Is it as 4 different entities or single entity with sister concerns? That is what I think is the differentiation. Okay, apprenticeship is non-aspirational. How to attract and retain candidates? What are some working best practices? Indeed, now I would say apprenticeship had been non-aspirational, but now it is slowly changing. And typically, practically when implementing it in your organizations, just think about it as to what is changing from the candidate's perspective. Literally nothing, literally. Their pay packet is not changing. Their opportunity is not changing. Their learning is not changing. Their future growth is not changing. What is changing for them? Your brand value is not changing. Your brand of your company is not changing. It is only the subtle process that you as an organization internally making a tweak to be compliant with the law of the land, and also in some cases avail the benefits that the government is offering by engaging apprentices. So literally, there is no reason why apprenticeship should be non-aspirational. Actually, it should be the way, particularly even for the organizations also, as we said in the beginning, that it is an opportunity to evaluate good apples from the bad ones. Sorry for using that word, but of course, we mean business. We want to carry only assets. So it is an opportunity there, and hence, nothing changes. So, and also there are some, ways and means of doing it. Because, see, minimum stipend, what one need to pay, as we said, is 9,000 for graduates. Many companies are paying more than that. You can pay all of it, you can pay some of it, and say that you can hold back some of it and saying that after successful completion, this could be your entry bonus. It could be your, rewards. You can pay for, to curb attrition. You can say that, okay, every month apprentices will have so much of cash rewards. That is very much possible in the system. So there are ways and means of, curbing attrition, because that is what is being brought about quite often, that, because of apprentices, it's non-aspirational, hence it, attrition is too high, and so on and so forth. I think companies, while making the ends meet in terms of legal compliance and, businesses and all, we need to be a little bit more innovative and creative as well. And there are many companies who are doing it successfully, very, very successfully. And we can discuss it one-on-one, if it comes to that, if you need to have more discussion on how to retain and how to make it more aspirational and so on and so forth. But literally, just to sum it up, there is no change literally from the candidate's perspective. In fact, it is a win-win for both the candidates as well as the companies. Okay, this is another important one. How to handle letters and show cause notices. Of late, there have been quite a few of these, and letters are being issued and so on and so forth. So say the intention of the government is to ensure that apprenticeship, because skilling, because of our demographic dividend, which we want to encash as a, of course, as we go forward with our economy, which is kind of growing well, we need government's endeavor is to ensure that the apprentice program is run very, very well and successfully. And that is the reason the show cause notices and all are coming. So once we receive them, the best way to handle is that, of course, if because of our ignorance, probably we may not be, we might not have done that, immediately respond to them saying that we have a plan, we are evaluating which scheme to go with, and very soon we would be compliant with. And keep updating the authorities of your progress, what you're doing. But keeping quiet after receiving these show cause notices or letters and all is not a good option. But definitely liaise with them. And of course, we are there. Nasscom is there to help you out as to what to do, how to respond and where to respond and things like that. We are there to help you as well, which we have been doing for many companies and successfully have done that as well. But keeping silent would not work. Okay, immediately we may have to respond and keep them updated as to what is our plan and within how much time we would be compliant, or how we are going to go about it. Will the non-compliance be treated retrospectively? So far, there is no such case. So far, there is no such case, and I don't think even the law also says anything, talks anything about that. So answer is no. Does Nasscom IT/ITS, this is a funny one, Nasscom IT/ITS SSC charge any consultation fees for supporting, implementing, and helping with apprenticeship implementation? Absolutely no. This is our mandate. We are mandated to help IT/ITS sector to implement apprenticeship, and we don't charge anything for this. And also, there is this, many companies ask because of their volumes, are there any third-party agencies who would help us implement apprenticeship in our organization? Yes, there are quite a few people, as they are called as TPAs, empaneled by NSDC as well. So, we can, once you log on to the NSDC portal, there also you can get the details, or if you want, we can also help you to get connected with them. But it is a choice of the company, whether you want to do it on your own, that is the implementation of apprenticeship, or you want to outsource it to some third-party aggregators, that is your choice. Of course, we will be able to connect you also. Last, I think it is a last slide, or maybe the last but one. Can a company get its own curricula approved for non-NAPs, and how long it takes? Yeah, we discussed this. For non-NAPs, it takes. Non-NAPs means, again, let me recap it, where there is no government's financial assistance. The company is willing to, forego the government's financial assistance. Yes, it takes about somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks time. And there is a standard format and process and things like that. So could be very easy, and we would be able to help you with that. Can a company use the non-NAPS curricula prepared and updated by another company? Yes, the portal, now NAPS portal allows that. You can use that. Next question. Does a company need to complete 2 weeks classroom training first and then move to OJT? Yeah, this question has got a little bit of background, and let me explain that and then get to the answer. Earlier, apprenticeship, whole structure used to be like basic training and on-the-job training. There used to be a maximum of 3 months of basic training, and then whatever period of on-the-job training was as part of the curricula, it was there. But of late, it has been changed to make it more industry friendly and to optimize the time, effort, money, everything for the business. The basic training has been reduced to maximum 2 to 4 weeks time. And also it is left to the discretion of the organization to phase it out in a way they deem fit for the entire training of apprenticeship. They can do it some portion in the beginning, in between another 1 week, maybe another 1 week, something like that, over a period of time, they can do it. But again, it has been made very, very industry friendly. Not necessary that it should be done in the beginning itself and then you have to go on to OJT, nothing of that sort. It is left to the discretion of the organization or the establishment. After IT deduction, would the company still be able to claim GOI incentive? Okay, this is a little bit bordering on the income tax. If the final stipend amount is more, and if it falls under legal IT stipulated brackets, then it is organization's responsibility to deduct IT income tax from the stipend that they are paying to the candidates. But however, in most of the cases, the amount of stipend that is being paid to the candidates, typically, unless if somebody is paying 50,000, 60,000 stipend, most of the freshers do not fall under IT slab. And hence IT applicability, income tax applicability in general would not arise. But if it arises, of course, the finance team and all would know, how to deal with that. But if they fall under IT slab, definitely income tax, being the law of the land, has to be deducted from their total emoluments. So that's it from my side as far as the FAQs are concerned. So today we focused more on nuances of apprenticeship, particularly the FAQs, which most of the companies ask us as to how to implement, what to do, some questions around how to navigate and so on and so forth. That is what our focus was on. So with that, I come to the end of my session or my presentation. Over to you. If you have any questions, I think my colleague there on the chat box has been answering all your questions. Hope that have been useful as well. So over to you, Pratik. Divetaji, you want to say?
Yes, thank you, Girishji, for this opportunity. It's so nice to hear the other side of the story. I think it's been a while since I've interacted with establishments directly and listening to somebody else aside from NSDC talking about apprenticeship. So it's been a pleasant change. Just a couple of things, maybe just one thing actually, that the mandate to meet apprenticeship, of course, is one thing. What we refer to as non-NAPS is just that the apprenticeship is driven by the Apprentices Act of 1961. And the act will stay whether or not NAPS stays or not. NAPS is a financial benefit scheme that was only envisaged in 2016 when the program of apprenticeship did not take up in the manner expected from 1961 to 2016. That's when NAPS was taken up. So non-NAPS is also a term that we have coined to be able to show that the financial benefit is probably the smallest part of the benefits of apprenticeship. And if establishments choose to not take these benefits, they can register themselves in non-NAPS. The processes are pretty simple. There's no difference in the registration process. It is still a three-step process for establishments and purely an Aadhaar and eKYC, Aadhaar-based eKYC process for candidates. And of course, the apprenticeship advisors led by, like for the IT Sector Skill Council, you have the CEO of the IT SSC, who's the Joint Apprenticeship Advisor, supported by the team here. The process, in my mind at least, is fairly simple. Apart from the Nasscom team, the NSDC team is also here for any support that you might need, any questions, any clarifications. We have had establishments who've reached out to us saying that the HR or the compliance team is not comfortable with some of the suggestions made in meetings. So we're happy to put it in writing so that it helps you tide over any audit queries or anything that you have. We are, of course, not the government. NSDC is very much a private organization, but if you would like these very pertinent clarifications from the ministry, we are happy to facilitate that also for you. Celestine has been answering all the questions. So if there are any specific questions for me, or if I should take up all the questions one by one, just somebody needs to let me know. I can see 74 answered questions and 44 open questions. So how do we want to do this? Prateek, if you have any ideas?
Yeah, so Divya, maybe I can choose upon the questions and, that way we can take it ahead.
Sure.
So Supriya Chavan has questioned, like, is it mandatory to hire apprenticeship through NAP's website only? Can they be hired outside the portal?
Right. So apprenticeship under the Act has to be reported, right? Reporting can happen only on two portals. One is the, I think if Girishji, you can go back to the slide where you had shown the 5 options that exist. The reporting has to happen on one of these two portals, either the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship portal or the NATS portal, which is under the Ministry of Education. Right, this one, right. So if your apprenticeship contracts are not registered on either of these, then they don't fall under the Act. For example, there was a NEEM scheme running in the middle where people used to hire candidates for training and they were calling them apprentices. But NEEM trainees were not apprentices because they were not falling under the Apprenticeship Act. Apprentices Act, I'm sorry. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah. Thanks, Divya. We have next question coming from Chandra. Government do any audit for NAPS and NAPS hired employee?
Right. So there is no audit of the establishment per se. Of course, like Girishji said, that is it is a scheme or it is a proposal that is very, very industry friendly and meant for increase of uptake of the program is more by self-regulated and not so much regulated by the government. In terms of NAP's benefit, if you're actually taking, so I think we all understand that the benefit that is actually coming to the establishments or to the beneficiaries is very much publicly funded, right? So the taxes that we are all paying, they are forming a part of the pool of funds that we are using to disburse. So NSDC does go through an audit. We are liable to the CAG as well for the scheme. There is no direct audit of the establishment or the candidate per se, but that is something that NSDC manages at their end. But the scheme does go through an audit. And if your question is if there is ever a chance that that an auditor will reach out to us, not an auditor, but possibly NSDC might reach out to you in the future also if you've taken benefit under the NAP scheme.
See, just to add to what Devita ji said, see, all these transactions of stipend payment and incentive and all is all on the portal itself. So it is all visible to the authorities there. So auditing of individual organizations almost zero, I would say.
No, it is zero. NSDC is liable for audit, not you.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Devita, back We are receiving this question again, difference between NAPS and NATS. Either Divyata or Girishi, one of you could just throw some light for the organizations.
Sure, maybe I can take a crack at it. The difference is just that they're two separate schemes run by two separate ministries. So the act is the same, the apprenticeship rules are the same. Both the ministries are just running two separate schemes for its promotion. And that's the first difference. The second difference is that the minimum qualification for NAPS is actually 5th class pass and beyond. So under NAPS, you can take even a 5th class, and the minimum age criteria under NAPS is also 14 years, which in case of hazardous is 18 plus, but it's 14 otherwise. In terms of NATS, this is more because it is run by the Ministry of Education, it is more of an education integrated scheme, and they primarily look at engineering graduates or regular graduates, but those who are still pursuing graduation. So if I have finished my graduation, if I am yet to do my graduation, if I'm a diploma holder, if I am 10th class pass, 5th class pass, 6th class pass, 12th class pass for that matter, if I'm an ITI candidate, for all of these cases, the NAP scheme is eligible. I think those are the broad differences. I think, of course, the slide that we are on lists the details on who the apprenticeship advisor is and what is the duration of training. But I'm not sure what is the exact question. If the user can maybe, whoever has asked the question, Celestine was the voice, but the direct user, if they can maybe, is there an option to unmute them, or if they can chat in the chat, type their exact query.
Maybe they can like ask the question once again in the chat.
Yeah. Please do ask the question again if we are not able to.
So in the meantime, let's take another question that is from John C. So can a company take a few apprentices from NAPS and other from NATS for 2.5%?
Absolutely. So this is completely an industry friendly scheme out of your entire, so you have a 15% quota, and in fact for states you have, for some states like
so just
state,
I think there's two different ministries as well.
Yeah, I guess there was a audio issue. Yeah, so Divyata, you can continue.
Okay. So yes, so I was talking about the quota that you have for 15%, 10%, 5% of those being freshers, that can be met through both or one also. So even if you're taking all 15% under NAPS, there is nobody who can mandate you to take it under NATS. And that is similarly true for NATS also. NATS, if you're taking under NATS, nobody can mandate. It depends on what works for you, what you find logistically easier, what you find more relevant to your organization.
Okay. So there's another question from Sachin. What happens post posting the vacancies if the organization is not able to find the right candidate?
Okay. So I think that's something like, what do I do if I want to hire and don't find the right candidate? I guess we keep trying till we find the right candidates. So because it is right now in a self-regulation mode, we are not really issuing through our apprenticeship advisors. The ministry is also not really pushing for notices or penalties for that matter for not meeting the mandates of the act. But we have not had really this kind of problem with the industry not being able to find the right kind of candidates. It is a training scheme. If it were if it was a higher, like if it was a employment scheme or something, I would have understood that you have not found the right candidates. But in terms of training scheme, I think it's not been so hard. Yes.
If I may, Divyata, see, the thing is, these are two separate things. See, the thing is, not finding the candidate is not an answer, because this is an obligation of the organization to fulfill the apprenticeship mandate, which is law of the land. And whether it suits our business or not, we have to comply with the law, because the obligation is that the fresh workforce that is coming here, the business is obliged to train the fresh workforce of this country, whether that is That fresh workforce is getting aligned with your business future workforce or not, that is a different question, right? So these are, if you are saying that because we are trying to align our future selection of our future workforce with apprentice selection, and train them and then hire them, and that is the reason I think this question is coming. But in from the government's perspective, these two are two separate things. One is your business, second is your legal obligation. Hope that is clear.
Yeah.
Right. So next question we have from Archana. This is a little long question. So Archana asked that the act was applicable from years, but why has this picked up importance now? Like, can you specify the exact statutory provision on the amendments of 2014 which makes this applicable to IT companies?
Okay. Right. So the Act actually does not say who is excluded. That is why IT companies are included in it. The change that happened in 2014 was that it was also open to the services sector. So it was not that the services sector could not take apprentices before the 2014 amendment, but the before 2014 the focus was more on designated trades. Designated trades had been traditionally aligned to ITI candidates and were traditionally manufacturing trades. Uh, Even then, it was not like service industry could not have taken apprentices. But to be able to clarify this, I think it was opened up, and there is no written document which would say something like you have to if you're an IT company you need to take apprentices, because it's the same way that it doesn't say that if you're a tourism company you need to take apprentices. Everybody is covered under the act as long as you have 30 or more than 30 workforce, and optional for you if you have between 4 and 29 people under your workforce. So, but if it is again a question of our management does not agree or our compliance team does not agree, we are happy to put it in writing. The Sector Skill Council, as the as the Joint Apprenticeship Advisor, is very much empowered to be able to issue these letters to you. And SDC is also happy to step in if required.
There's one more question, like, will total count of employees include contract employees, and can we engage apprentices in facility and housekeeping staff?
Right. So in your workforce, we include what you can include is your full-time employees definitely, but your direct contractual employees. So if you are contracting people directly, like NSDC contracts full-time consultants, those are covered under my workforce. But if I am giving the contract to a staffing company per se, and the staffing company is deploying those resources, then those resources are not included in my workforce number, because that number would be reported by the staffing company. The staffing company itself is also mandated. It's a business in India. It's mandated to take apprentices on their payrolls as well. So the staffing company can deploy those candidates in the various companies where they have deployed their full-time employees for training. But as an establishment, I cannot include those numbers in my list. So maybe what will help, and something that we've been working on, it's still work in progress, is looking at some sort of an integration with the EPFO, where every company is of course mandated to file the PF contributions for their full-time employees. So we're looking at an integration where from EPFO we will be able to auto pull through an API data on what are the number of employees that you're reporting your PF for. And to that, we will give you an option to add the direct contractual employees that you have, which will then eventually make your workforce. And all of this again will get integrated with NATS. So the plan is that there should be just one portal, one shop stop for the establishments. And then from there, they can choose on which field they want to go.
That's a good news.
Yeah, it's yeah. But again, all of this is something that we're trying to bring together. It's I think one of the jobs that NSDC has is to bring all these multiple things together on one platform. Because right now, if I were a 14-year-old looking for what skill training is relevant for me, I think that information assimilation is the toughest task at hand. That is what we are trying to simplify. Here we're only looking at apprenticeship, but in the IT solution that we are planning, we are looking at all sorts of short-term trainings, vocationalization programs running in schools, any sort of skilling running anywhere in the country.
Okay. So
There
there's
was
a
a
new
second part of the question, Pratik. I think I didn't answer that. I can't recall it. There were two parts of the questions you were asked me. I think I missed the second one. Or did I answer it?
Uh, sure, maybe I can, send that question over the email so that, we can answer the questions from the other.
Sure.
So Sheikh Mobeen asks that, can we terminate interns based on performance issues within the stipulated time?
Yes, yes. So termination is very much a functionality that is available to both sides of the contract. So contract is between you and the establishment, and the candidate. So both these parties have the right to terminate the contract. You will have to select the reason for termination. There is no mandate for you to carry on with the trainings or apprenticeships that are not fruitful in terms of learning for the candidate, because the candidate is not showing up for training or is not invested in training. That's pretty much your call. The only small caveat here is that you can raise the request and it has to be approved by the apprenticeship advisor. Apprenticeship advisor in most of, I'm assuming in most of your cases, would be the Sector Skill Council CEO. And we've not seen in the last 4 or 5 years of implementing the program cases where the termination has been rejected. So it's completely your prerogative.
Okay. So Vandana has a question like, does 2.5% need to be engaged throughout the financial year?
Right. So the average course duration for an apprenticeship training is about 1 year. So of course, under NAPS, it's flexible. You can do anywhere between 6 months to 36 months also. The average is 6, 9. The commonly used courses are 6, 9, and 12. And 12 is the average that is taken. So it's not like you have to enter into a 12-month contract with the candidate. If your course is only for 9 months, that's also okay. But you're meeting your criteria for that financial year of 2.5%, there should be no problem. Just adding to that, I think one of the objectives that Girish ji had also set in the beginning of this webinar was that we should not look at it as just meeting a mandate of 2.5%. Of course, it is a mandate and nobody is saying that it is not. But the value proposition for apprenticeship is real. The growth, the international studies say this. We are happy to share data on it. We're happy to make you talk to establishments we've convinced over the last 5 years, including NSDC, which was not taking apprentices. And now today we have almost an 80% hiring rate of our apprentices, because that's how well the training program goes. So I would greatly encourage you to, we're happy to start with a small 2.5%, but please don't look at it with the mindset of just meeting the mandate that there is.
Thanks, Divya. We have one more question here. Like, is there any standard for assessment at the end of apprenticeship duration? And can this assessment be internal to organization or government authorized?
Right. So for assessment, I can talk about the assessment under NAPS and specifically under optional trades. Designated trades have the assessment which is called the AITT, or All India Trade Test. That is a completely separate path and only available for designated trade candidates. For optional trade candidates, it is up to the establishment what kind of course they have chosen and what kind of assessment they would like to do. The practical assessment is something that is completely open to the establishment to do. The government does not mandate that this is how you have to conduct the assessment per se, because it is apprenticeship is primarily on the job training. So how the candidate has performed on the job, it is completely up to you. Where the Sector Skill Council comes in is that as an awarding body, they can of course help you with the practical assessments should the establishment wish so. But there is a second part of assigning of if the training has been done in an NSQF aligned course. Please feel free to stop me if you need more clarifications on this, but I will just complete what I know. So if the training is being done in an NSQF aligned course, the candidate is eligible to appear for the assessment and then gain academic credits for the training that they have done. And that is where the awarding body like the Sector Skill Council comes in, where the candidate, where the establishment, where the Sector Skill Council will assess the candidate primarily for the theory part of things. It is a proctored assessment. I think Giriji or Celestine will be more equipped to take
Yes.
you through the process. Yeah.
Yes, Devitaji, we do have, for all the NSKF aligned courses, we do have compulsory online assessments. We do have a process. And, that is again to ensure the quality of the candidates.
Exactly.
And also, as you very rightly said, the credit equivalence. Going forward, that is what is going to happen. So
that
hence,
is the vision of the country's prime minister. That's where we are heading. So
absolutely. And that is also the latest OM of 3rd January also talks about the same thing. So as far as ITS thing is concerned, for all the NSQF aligned courses, curricula, assessment is compulsory. We are conducting.
Right. Even for the non-NSQF aligned courses, we will greatly encourage the candidate establishments to actually conduct the assessment, because even if I'm doing a 2-month internship, I get a certificate. So I would very much like an assessment to happen and get that certificate. Everything will be linked to DigiLocker. There is the so we are I think as a country we are progressing at a very different pace now, and there's so many ideas about what the country will look like. We are in like the I think it's been a massive change in the last 4 or 5 years that at least I have seen, and the next 4 or 5 years are also expected to do a lot in the education and development and the skill development space. So I would say that assessment will take even more priority. I can choose to drop out of class 5, do an apprenticeship, take an NSQF aligned course, gain academic credits, and maybe finish my class 10th in just 1 year instead of doing between 5 and 10, doing 5 years of education. Right? And the new education policy gives me all this flexibility. So it is the onus of the establishments to be able to give that empowerment to the candidates. And this is information that you and I can discuss on this forum in a VC. But for it to actually trickle down to the candidates, I think it's very important for this ecosystem to understand what a big role we play or we are equipped to play in shaping the youth of the nation. So I think assessment is something that we would pay heavy importance on.
Right. So one more question we have from Lean Fernandez, like, does being in a SEZ or non-SEZ affect the hiring of an apprentice?
SEZ? You mean a special economic zone?
Yes.
Can you repeat the question? I actually didn't understand it.
So does being in a SEZ or non-SEZ affect the hiring of an apprentice?
Right. I think it doesn't. If I understand the question right, your question is that I am a company which is based out of an SEZ. It is mandatory for me. It is mandatory for you if we wanted to use the term mandatory, but it is mandatory for you no matter where you are. So as long as you have 30 or more than 30 workforce, it is mandatory for you, irrespective of where you're placed.
Understood. Okay. Sure. Couple of more questions and
please, we have time at 4:30. Please shoot.
So there's one more question. What about CAs with articleship experience? Can they enroll for industrial trainee as per the ICAI curriculum?
Let me take this, Divitaji.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah, this is a Pratik and whoever has asked the question, this is a unique thing, and we are definitely it is a possibility there, because all these people who are doing articleship there do not have any past work experience. So legally they qualify to be apprentices. And this is a unique case that we are trying to build, and it is a very much a possibility. We are going to work on that. It is, yes, they can be engaged as apprentices.
One more question from Prachi. All the apprentices should complete the 6 months apprenticeship, or few can do for 5 months and few can join later for more months. So how is
right. So there is no batch system per se. It's not like you have to start a batch of 30 people and have them join apprenticeship on the first day. It's like you would probably have rolling employment all through the year. You can have rolling training also. So there is no batch system per se. You have to, but if you are enrolling the apprentice, they have to finish the course. If if they want to and if you want to, they'll have to finish the entire apprenticeship duration. So it's not like you started an apprenticeship batch on first. Like it's not like school. Like you started it in April and you have to continue till March of next year for it to finish. You can join in April, you can join in May, you can join in June, you can even join in December, and for it to spill over to the next financial year. That does not matter.
Thanks, Evita. So Rishi is asking, once any company engaged in apprenticeship program and it's going good as per rules and regulation, but at the time company is unable to maintain the 2.5% of workforce as apprentice, what to do at such time? Kindly assist.
Okay, so if I'm understanding the question again, right? If you are you have hired apprentices for this financial year and your quota of 2.5% is not met because of something. So again, like I said, it is more of 2.5% is a very small number for a. I mean, nothing will happen per se. It's not like somebody is going to take you to court and say that why have you not taken or completed your quota for 2.5%. It is more of a self-regulated and self-achieved um, program. So I, I don't think anything will happen per se. You will just I mean train the candidates that you are able to train.
See, if I may add a little bit to that,
Yeah.
is that we as good corporate citizen, we always plan to be compliant with the law of the land. So from that perspective, if we even foreseeing whatever the ups and downs in the business, if we always maintain a percentage of the somewhere around 3 to 4%, that is fine. But the retrenchment of apprentices, because it is a legal obligation, should come in the end, because cost-wise also it is less. Of course, there are other ways and means of cutting the cost to manage the business. Of course, I don't want to dwell on that, but all said and done, again, I repeat, these two are two separate things. The apprenticeship training cannot be aligned with the business scenario, success or failure of the business, right? So as much as possible, let us keep it de-linked, is what I would say.
Okay. One more question. How could we make any changes in the portal if we have made any mistakes on the GST part?
You mean you have if you are saying that you have updated an incorrect GST number, how will you update that GST number? I'm not sure if Giriji Celestine, if you're understanding the question.
See, if I understand correctly, if there is some mistake in updating some data there, then of course there is always an opportunity to correct it. It
Yeah.
can, a ticket has to be raised, and accordingly it will be addressed.
Yeah.
If that is the answer.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can raise the ticket, share the ticket number with the SSC. We will forward it to NSDC and ask for help on that.
One more question from Ria. Any minimum stipend amount for apprentice as per law?
Yes. So 5,000 rupees. So apprenticeship rules mandate. There is an entire table that is given. I think I'm not sure if it was there in this presentation, but the apprenticeship rules mandate that the minimum that you have to pay to an apprentice whose fifth class passes 5,000 rupees, and the minimum that you have to pay to a candidate. So there are slabs 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure if there's 7, 5,
5,
6,
6, 7, and 9.
5, 6, 7, and 9, right? So 9 is the minimum that you need to pay to a graduate or a pursuing graduation candidate that you take as an apprentice. And for a fifth class pass, that the minimum is 5,000. So depending upon the educational qualification of the candidate, there is a minimum mandated by the government. There is no maximum. So we know of Hero Honda, which pays their apprentices 25,000 rupees per month, right? Because of the quality of training that they do, because of the quality of output, technical output that they expect.
Okay. So Supriya asked that is bucket 4 also required to be approved from NAPS?
No,
No,
no.
yeah. Giriji,
Bucket,
please.
Girishi, yes. Girishi, I'm sorry, but as per the new policy, even bucket 4 needs to be approved under NAPS. So the organization creates the curricula and submits it. It does not have to be aligned to any of the existing QPs that we have. They create a simple curricula and upload it, and then it gets approved. within
Yeah,
a week.
yeah.
What,
and
what
So
I
the
meant
approval
is,
process, I'll just add to that actually, sorry, Celestine, actually there is no approval process per se. It
yeah,
is just to make sure that the course is aligned to the curriculum format.
Format.
That's it.
yeah,
Yes.
There
that's
is
all
no
it is.
technical input that will be coming from NSDC for it, because again, we are not equipped to give that input. And the SSC also does not have to go through an approval process per se.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Just the
thanks.
format approval.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
But okay,
Unless it is not, that format is not approved, the organization cannot engage apprentices under that
Correct.
curriculum.
Correct.
So our next question from Mary. Can we hire apprentices from the database that we may already have, or is it mandatory to hire from the government database?
No, it is nothing is mandatory. I'm so happy to answer these questions and say nothing is mandatory. But you can very much choose your own apprentices. There is no government database. It is a self-registration of candidates. It is a facility that the government is providing. There is no mandate to use or hire from any of those.
this was one of the FAQs also what we had taken up.
Yes, Prateek, please, more questions.
Yeah, Adila asked, like, we hired them with our usual process, so can we convert in that case?
So employees cannot be converted into trainees, if that is your question, because employees are hired. You would have had like again employee like apprentices are trainees. If they are not meant to do any production work per se. They are supposed to learn on the job, like it's on the job training, right? So you cannot convert an existing employee into an apprentice, if that was your question. It is not in the spirit of the project. Let me also clarify. It's not like somebody can hold you accountable and say, why have you done this? But of course, it's not in the spirit of the project. If you hired somebody to be an employee, I'm assuming they have what it takes to be a full-time employee. So, and definitely once the PF and all has been paid, that means they've had employment for some time. They have had some sort of training. So it's not what apprenticeship is meant to cater to.
Okay. The next question is, what is BOAT? Where can we find more details on apprenticeship implementation?
What is BOAT?
BOAT, yeah.
BOAT. Okay, BOAT is the Board of Apprenticeship Training. So the NAT scheme under the Ministry of Education is run by the 4 boards that they have, boards of apprenticeship training, which are quasi-government organizations. They're based out of the 4 regions of North, South, East, and West. And all the information on them is available on this website link that Girishji is showing on his presentation. It's mhrdnats.gov.in.
Okay. Another question, is there any provision to get time extension from apprenticeship board considering company has recently started a unit or SCN is received recently?
I think this question is specifically for the BOAT course, for the NATS course, and I am not equipped to answer that because I'm not aware. So I think this is again something that you'll have to take to the Ministry of Education.
Pratik, so we have received a couple of questions which are NAT program specific. So just to reiterate, for dear participants, any questions for NATs, you could reach out to your local board officers. Anything related to NAPS NAPS, we are more than glad to help you out here.
Okay. So there's one more question from Supriya related to NAPS. Okay. Okay. So there is another question from Adila. So we are hiring freshers via campus drives and they are having a training period of 3 months. We used to evaluate and hire them if they meet the performance criteria. So can it be converted as apprenticeship for 6 months?
Yeah. So that definitely. So if you find a course that is relevant for 6 months, that will cover your training, because the 6 months course that apprenticeship has, that has some mandatory courses like I think for safety, etc., etc. There are all these courses, and I think Celestine, what is the course that has been recently added? There is something that has been added to the course recently, right? Something on entrepreneurship or something that has been added very recently. It has been added.
Yes, on entrepreneurship, a couple of hours have been added. We are still updating the curricula as of now.
Right. Right. I think Adila's question was that the 3 month training period that you have for your might have a curriculum which is slightly different. The 6 months curriculum, if you can find something relevant, that you can definitely convert. So if you're looking at maybe taking your full-time employees through apprenticeship first, getting them to do the course, assessing them, and then taking them as full-time employees, that is very much possible.
Understood. So one more question from Archana. Any annual filings under NAPS?
So the contract is all that needs to be made, which will be made or once you actually engage an apprentice automatically. There is no additional information, additional filing or reporting that you need to do.
Okay. So they're asked that will CMA interns considered as apprentice?
Uh, I'm not sure what CMA interns refer to actually. Let me quickly take a look. Just a second.
If you can tell us a little bit more about what these CMA interns you mean.
Yeah.
Because, see, anyway, we discussed this, any interns, if their duration of internship is minimum 6 months, and, they can be brought under the framework of apprenticeship. And of course, there has to be other legal compliances that need to be met in terms of stipend payment and curricula selection and, so on and so forth. So tell us a little bit more details about this, what you have in mind as interns, and probably you'll be able to help.
Yeah, so I think CMA, I think it's something to do with the cost accounting something. I just Google it right now. So the cost accountants of India, there is a institute of ICAI, right? ICAI is the institute. Under that, there is something for CMA interns also. Again, I think it would probably be similar to the articleship that they are doing.
Correct. So let's get more details, ma'am. We would be probably able to find a solution.
Adila is actually asking more questions. I do want to be able to answer. Is that okay, Prateek? I can see her question in the chat.
Yes, definitely.
So she's saying that currently we have a set of courses and on-the-job trainings for freshers who are hired via campus drives. So they hope they can find some courses via NAP's website and club them together. Yes, and I think the Sector Scale Council is the right person. Giriji and his team, with Celestine, and the rest of the team are very much equipped to help you find the right course and help you align apprenticeship for all your trainees.
So I guess we have answered most of the questions, and if we have any more questions, you can definitely mail us. So yeah, just okay. So thank you, Girishji and Divyata, for joining us today. We are delighted to have your presence as a speaker for today's session. And really thank you for your time. And in the interest of time, if there was any query which was unanswered, please reach out us on mumbai@nasscom.in, and the team will soon get in touch with you. We will share the presentation in the webinar. Also, feedback survey will be shared. So do help us with your feedbacks. Do stay connected. Stay safe. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
Have a nice weekend, all of you.
Bye.